Life as a VISTA, my year in AmeriCorps. Hi everybody and welcome to the webinar. Today I'm going to be talking to you about my year as AmeriCorps VISTA member and how my year of service has gone. I hope you enjoy it. So just to share a little bit about me, my name is Dana Nagelkirk and I'm a 23-year-old. I grew up in Holland, Michigan, but I'm serving currently in Greenfield, Indiana. I went to Trinity Christian College in Palos Heights, Illinois, and I double majored in social work and psychology. I graduated with a BSW and also a bachelor's degree in psychology. And a few weeks after I graduated from college, I moved to Indiana and started my year as an AmeriCorps VISTA member. So just to give you a little overview about what AmeriCorps is basically a domesticated Peace Corps. It focuses on addressing poverty in America and other related social problems. There's a couple different sectors that you can serve under. You can either be AmeriCorps VISTA, AmeriCorps State and National, or AmeriCorps NCCC and FEMA Corps. They all focus on slightly different things. AmeriCorps VISTA stands for Volunteer in Service to America. This is the sector that I served under, so it's the one that I'm the most familiar with. The other ones I just have a general understanding of, and if you'd like to know more, you can go to the AmeriCorps website, and they've got lots of great information about their different programs and exactly what they each entail, and also the requirements for serving under each program. Each program is slightly different, and the requirements are slightly different. So make sure you look into those. Some of them you have to be older, some of them they're just for people who just graduated high school, and so on. But anyways, AmeriCorps VISTA is a program that focuses on capacity building. And basically this means that you work at the macro level and you focus on resource development, program enhancement, developing programs, and anything other related, just focusing on community development, working with organizations and communities to enhance their ability to address problems. You address problems directly impacting children, adults, and communities, but you just work at it from a different level. So instead of directly working with these people, you're working on creating programs and assistance and resources that can help them. You're placed in different communities in America, and you serve for 1 year. Some programs, such as America State and Nation, are focused more on hours, and so it kind of varies how long it's going to take you to fulfill your placement. But AmeriCorps VISTA is exactly 1 calendar year. So from the time you start, you go 365 days. And in CCC and FEMA Corps, I focus more on like disaster relief and rebuilding communities, and they work more on a micro level. Just like State and Nation, they work more addressing problems by directly working with people. So for those of you that aren't very familiar with the terms micro, meso, macro, these are related to how services are delivered. They're terms that are more thinking in terms of like sociology and social work and psychology versus like micro, mesoeconomics, like macroeconomics, sorry. But basically they just focus on how your services are delivered, like I said. So micro-level practice is like working directly with children, working directly with families, like working on the smaller side of things and delivering service directly to the people. When you think of meso, you can think of like small groups, even families sometimes can be considered meso practice, and also just working in like more of a group setting would be meso practice. You're still delivering services directly, but you're just working at a slightly larger scale. And macro focuses on working in like communities, policy development, working in businesses, organizations, so working from a larger scale, but focusing more on capacity building. You don't do as much direct practice in macro work, and you focus more about directly impacting problems from a larger scale. And deciding which one is best for you, you first want to check into the requirements and make sure that you're allowed to serve. But you also want to know yourself and know your strengths and weaknesses. Each one's slightly different, so you want to know what is the best fit for you. So why did I serve? So my original plan was never to serve in AmeriCorps. I was actually never that familiar with AmeriCorps. I had learned a lot about the Peace Corps when I was serving in my placement and also when I was fulfilling my undergraduate degree. So we had talked about it in my different social work classes, but we never really touched on AmeriCorps that much. And I kind of briefly knew about it, but I wasn't very familiar with it. And honestly, I wasn't exactly sure what it entailed, so I wasn't really keen on doing it right away because I was like, I don't know if it's for me. But when I was serving at my internship placement, I worked with my supervisor who was an AmeriCorps alum and also an AmeriCorps member who is currently serving. She was not a VISTA member. I believe she was a state nation, but I'm not sure. But she was an AmeriCorps member. And I saw what she did and I was like, that kind of looks cool. I think I could do that. Because before that, I was like, I'm not really sure. I think I associated it more with the Peace Corps. And I was like, I'm not sure I can do that. And for those of you who aren't really familiar with the Peace Corps, it's just a service program that's very similar to AmeriCorps, only you work in a foreign country. It's still addressing poverty and social problems, but it's a little bit longer, and you also have to relocate countries. AmeriCorps is 1 year, and it's a domesticated Peace Corps, and you focus on social problems and poverty. But anyways, so I saw that people were serving and were alums of AmeriCorps, and what kind of led me down that road was that I had originally planned to go to graduate school, but when I got my letter and it told me how much tuition would cost, I wasn't exactly sure I wanted to put that much more money into school because I already had my undergraduate debt and I was just studying to be a social worker. I had applied to the master's program over in Denver, Colorado because they had a really cool social work program and some cool certificate programs, but I just wasn't sure if I wanted to put that much money into it because the tuition alone was pretty expensive, and that didn't figure in the fact that I'd have to relocate from Michigan to Colorado. So I sat for a while with that and was like, I don't know what to do. I don't have any other options. The other schools I applied to didn't accept me, so I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do because I honestly wanted to go on to school next so that I could get it done. Because as a social worker, you really need a master's degree in order to do anything. So I knew I would need to get it eventually. So I kind of just wanted to get it over with. Like, just get the degree over with. I know I'm going to want it. I know I'm going to need it. So I might as well just go ahead and do it. But apparently that wasn't in the cards for me because here I am serving in AmeriCorps. And I'm honestly actually not going to Denver after all. But I'll get to that in a second. But anyways, so that's what kind of led me down this road because then I decided I'm just going to look into it. And then after looking into it, I was like, I'm just going to start an application and start the process of applying so that it can be kind of on the back burner. Because I was still like, I could go to Denver and decide that it's worth it, or I could defer my enrollment and get a job, or I could defer my enrollment and do AmeriCorps. And that way, too, if I do AmeriCorps, I get a little money for school to help pay for some of my school loans. And I could also focus on deciding what I wanted to do. Like, if I didn't want to go to Denver, that would give me some time to apply to other schools. But we don't need to get into that much detail. It's not that cool. But anyways, so I decided to serve mostly because I had hit a roadblock, and I was like, I don't know what to do. So after talking to my supervisor and people at work, I was like, they're doing AmeriCorps. And it looks pretty similar to what I'm doing now. And even if I serve as AmeriCorps VISTA, I think it's pretty cool because I can address some of the problems I am now at a larger scale level. So it made me feel really motivated because I'm like, I feel like I can make a difference. I've got the social service background and some experience now working in like a really diverse community with a lot of different problems. So I was like, I think I can do this. So I sent my application in and I was approved, so I started applying to different jobs. And that's what led me to my current placement. So choosing my placement wasn't totally difficult. I had applied to 4 or 5 different positions all across the country, and I went through a couple phone interviews, and I haven't heard anything back. But then when I got the phone interview with the Boys and Girls Club and my current position, I really felt good about that position. I was like, it's not that far away. Some of the other ones I had chosen were a little bit farther away, and logistically it would be a little harder to like relocate, and they would just take a little more planning. But because this one wasn't totally far away from home, it was a little bit easier. So that was one benefit to it. But also, I just liked what it focused on. It focused on like directly working with programs that enhance the well-being of children, and it addressed poverty and hunger and nutrition. I was like, these are all things I really care about. Like, they were things that I saw in my field internship when I was living downtown Chicago, and I saw these things and I was like, I feel like I'm just cleaning up. Like, I worked in a community center and we focused on like serving the homeless. So we had a food pantry and we had snack packs for people who were homeless that could come in once a day and get a bag of food. But I'm like, I feel like I'm just cleaning up. I want to go do something that's going to actually do something. Because right now it feels like it's just kind of a Band-Aid fix for a larger scale wound. So I was really excited about that. But one thing that I'll talk about later that I never considered was the actual like emotional toll relocating to a new community is going to take on you. Because I did it for college, but that was different because when I moved to college, I had my best friend from high school who came with me, and also everybody's new, so you kind of had a built-in community among other students. So moving here was kind of challenging because I had no friends and no family members. But we'll talk about that later. So my current placement is with the Boys and Girls Club. I work with the Indiana Alliance, so I don't work directly for any specific Boys and Girls Club, but I work for an overarching program that kind of works with all the different Boys and Girls Clubs. And my title is a nutrition and mental health educator and also an anti-hunger program assistant. These were not topic actual titles I was given, but they're kind of what I concluded from what I've done. It was hard to kind of summarize what exactly my title was besides an AmeriCorps member. So that's what the other VISTA member before me. I was VISTA member number 2, and she kind of talked about it, and we were both like, I don't really know what to call myself. When people are like, what exactly do you do? And I'm like, I don't really have a title. But those were the titles we've kind of like concluded from what we've done. Because we do a lot of different work. We have specific tasks set out for us, but things come up all the time that fall under our general focus. So we always seem to be doing different things. But mostly I focus on grant research. I research grant opportunities and funding, and I also do a lot of site visits, and I visit the different clubs and assess their food programs and also ask them how things are going and what they need assistance on. I do some education. So I record webinars like this and also find resources for people on anything related to child nutrition and mental health. And I also help with the food program. So anything from like researching to working on menus to working on comparing and contrasting prices, and also just generally other things that come up. So my topic and my job is pretty broad, but it's very fulfilling and I've really enjoyed it so far. These are just a few pictures. This is a picture of the club and this is a picture of my desk in my office. I just wanted to share these with you so you can kind of get a general idea of what it looks like. So some of the most rewarding aspects of my job are serving in this capacity. So I really like learning how nonprofit organizations work from the macro perspective and also how to work at the macro perspective because all of my previous experience has been either working at a micro level or a meso level. So I've got a lot of experience directly volunteering nonprofit organizations, and also my undergraduate internship was focused on direct service. So I was pretty excited to be able to work at a different level and learn and gain some experience working at a larger scale. And it was also pretty exciting to learn about nonprofit organizations and kind of how the administrative side works of it. Because I've worked in nonprofits before, but I've always been on the front line. So I never understood really what the administrative and development side of it was. So it was pretty exciting to learn that. In addition to that, I found it pretty exciting to move out on my own, because they give you a living stipend. I had a little bit of an income. So I was able to move to my own apartment and live on my own for a while and kind of figure out who I am as an individual, because before that I was living in the dorms, or I did live in Chicago for a little while, but I was pretty reliant on my parents because I was serving as an intern, so I didn't have an income on my own, and as a full-time intern I really didn't have the option of finding a part-time job. So it was kind of exciting to be on my own and really figure out who I am. Because before that too, you're kind of surrounded by schools and your parents, and you're like, I need to kind of just go out on my own and figure out where I stand on issues, where I stand in this world. Like, who's Dana? And because AmeriCorps, you're paid such a small living stipend, you really are learning how to live on less. And you're learning how to be satisfied without all of the extra gizmos. This is a lesson that I've had to learn a lot, because sometimes I can get caught up going to the store and looking at all the fun cosmetics that I want to buy, but I'm like, no, that's not in the budget this month. We need to leave that on the shelf. So it's been a pretty rewarding experience and also a great life skill to learn. So I found that very rewarding. And it's also very eye-opening to experience what it's like to live on so little, and also just the stigma that goes along with relying on government-assisted programs. Because before that, I've read in textbooks about how people can feel kind of ashamed of using benefits like SNAP to help pay for their food and provide for their family. And I've never really understood that before, because as an outsider, there's no way you can. You're just kind of like, well, can't you just get over it? You need it, so what's the big deal? But that's been one thing that's been very eye-opening, because sometimes you feel like you want to defend yourself, but it's also like, why am I defending myself? I don't have to justify this to anybody. So that's something that I've found really rewarding, because it's something that's going to benefit me greatly as a social worker, because I can relate to these people in terms of some of their hesitation to rely on government programs, and also the challenges of living on so less. I was pretty blessed still, so I still don't just consider myself the poverty level. I've managed to live very finely on the living expenses that were given, but it's not a lot. But I still think it was very rewarding, because you learn how to budget your money very well. Because what helped me a lot is that my dad taught me how to budget it, and he helped me set a budget and learn how to live on just that much. And I had to say no to a lot of things, because I'm like, I can't afford that. I've got all these other expenses that are given each month, and I've only got a teeny-weeny bit of spending money left. So I can't go out and just kind of la-di-da around and spend money on everything. So it's really been a benefit in that sense. And some of the things that have been challenging is moving out on your own to a new area. And I didn't know anybody. But the naiveness of being a 22-year-old girl that didn't really understand the logistics of all that, or the challenges that would be accompanied with that, really helped me not to be quite so concerned about that aspect of it until I got here and I was like, oh, this is a lot harder than I thought. Because when I was in college, I had all my friends. So that was different, but I also knew that I was a very introverted person. I didn't need a lot of social interaction. I'm very, very capable of living on my own and just kind of relying on my own self. But that was something that I found very challenging, and I think that also kind of influenced my decision of graduate school, because I moved here and it was just so emotionally tolling to relocate all by myself and not know anybody. And to do that, I was like, I don't think I can do this again. So that influenced my decision about graduate school. And I'll get to that in a slide or two about what's next. Something else that was challenging is that navigating my new job, I was not very experienced working in that kind of setting, so I found that kind of challenging. And I also kind of missed working directly with people because I really enjoyed doing direct service work and helping people directly and getting to know people and building relationships. So in a lot of ways that kind of solidified the thing that I knew I didn't want to work at this level forever. I was really appreciative of the opportunity to do it, but I'm like, I think it's not for me. I like working with people directly. I like serving on the front lines. I like building the bonds. So that's something that was challenging because I was like, this is so new to me. I'm not sure if this is for me. I'm not sure I can do this. So I had to deal with a lot of my own self-consciousness and my own doubts in order to do my job adequately. And I also had to learn how to make my skills and time most useful. Because sometimes when I was at work, I was like, I don't know what's going to be most useful. I don't know what to do. Like, I had to go through that little talk to myself every day and be like, okay, well, we're going to do something. Like, we're going to try to make the best of it. So I had to learn a lot of new skills, which was very useful, but I also was a tough growing process because I wasn't really used to working at the macro level of things. So it was a really beneficial experience in that way, but it was also very challenging at times as well. So one thing to note about AmeriCorps is that you can either get an end-of-service stipend or you can get an education award. Education awards have to be used on specific things. I'm not an expert on them, but I know they have to be used for either tuition or for school expenses or loans for school, anything along the educational side of things. You can use them to like take a course or do like a certificate program. So anything that's going to further your education is pretty much eligible. But that's almost $6,000. And then the end of service stipend is just a stipend you're given. When you complete your service, it's just a cash stipend. You can use it on whatever you like. I'm not entirely sure of how much it is, but that's used on anything. Education award has to be used on education. And I decided the education award is the best option for me because my goal was always to go on to graduate school. My dad was a little concerned that I decided not to go into graduate school, and I was like, yeah, even if I don't go into graduate school, like we can still use it on my loans from undergrad, but I was like, there's no way I'm not going to go to graduate school. But you know how dads are. Dads like to see the worst case scenarios. I was like, I've got to go on to graduate school because I can't do anything in my BSW. So anyway, that's what I decided. I decided I want to use the education award because that way I can help pay for graduate school and lower the cost a little bit. So like I said, my plan was always to go to Denver, but after having my little epiphany in Chicago and then serving this year here, I've decided that that's not for me. I don't want to do that. So I scratched all the plans before and applied to some more schools. So long story short, it all led me back to living in Michigan and going to the school that I said I wouldn't go to because that would involve living at home with my parents. But anyways, life is funny that way. Sometimes we end up doing things that we said, I'm never going to do that. So after having this year to kind of figure out things and kind of do some soul searching, I decided that it's the best option. The school has a great program. It's very research-based. It's got a lot of great professors at it. It's a wonderful program. And I was like, this way I can save some money. I can move home so that I can start paying off some of my loans. And it's also what you need to consider is like, I'm not sure I wanted to live in Denver forever. I probably would end up back in West Michigan. And a lot of the times when you have an MSW field placement, sometimes they'll offer you a job, or at least they'll kind of connect you to a new job. So with that in mind, I was like, I think I'd be better off living in West Michigan because that's probably where I'm going to end up, because that's where all my family is. So that's what my plan was. I decided to go to Western. It's not at all like I expected, but that's okay. That's how life works sometimes. So I love the program. It looked like it was specifically tailored to the person like each person, and it also was very accelerated. I could complete the program in 9 months because I have my undergrad in social work. So in that aspect, I was like, that's really cool because that way I can get right into doing an actual job that I want to do. And I can just get that off my checklist and be like, okay, finally, school's done. No more school for me after all these years. But anyways, that's what I'm doing next. I'm going on to the graduate program at Western to study social work. So I'm pretty excited about that. And pretty soon after I finish my service, a couple weeks after that, I start school. So not too much of a gap either, so we can kind of keep trucking along. So just to kind of finish things up, I'm going to share some tips with you of things that I wish I would have known or taken more seriously. Get involved with your community. If you don't have a lot of friends or family members around here, if you don't kind of network with the other AmeriCorps members, I'd really encourage you to get involved with your community, whether this is finding a volunteer opportunity to do on a regular basis, or if it's getting involved with a church or getting involved with some other, like maybe sport program or other group in the community. I'd really encourage you to get involved in the community that you're living because it helps you kind of develop roots in your community since you are going to be there a year, so you want to be involved. Also, find a support network, whether this is with coworkers or with your family or friends or other AmeriCorps members. It's important to have a support network. Ideally, it'd be great to have a support network that you can meet in person, whether that's going out for coffee, hanging out, watching movies, doing whatever you like to do. It's just good to have a support network because you're going to need it. It's a tough job, and it's a long experience. A year is a long time. It seems short, but day after day, it turns out to be a pretty long time. So you want to have a good network to kind of help you do some self-care and take care of yourself. Also, embrace every opportunity. Get yourself out there. Take the opportunities that they're giving you to learn new things or develop your skills. Learn as much as you can while you're here because this is an excellent opportunity and it's not something you're going to be given again necessarily. So just seize the day and do whatever you can to learn and grow yourself as a professional. And also just try to keep an open mind. Try new things, see how it works. Try to be open-minded about things at work, be open-minded about new opportunities that are out there just so that you can keep figuring out what you want to do with your life and where you want to go next. So some closing remarks. I've really enjoyed my time as a VISTA member. In many ways, it's nothing like I've ever expected, but it's still been an incredibly rewarding experience for me. Life is never really what we expect, so it's just important, like I said here, find the joy in your journey. Life isn't what you expect, but when you choose joy and you choose happiness, it can be a really pleasant experience. Even if it's not what you expect, even if it's not really what you wanted to do after all, just find the joy because that way it's not going to be a miserable year for you. Remember, this is a year-long commitment if you choose to do VISTA, so you want to make sure that you keep a positive attitude because it's going to make your experience much, much, much more enjoyable and pleasant. And I've been so blessed in this experience because I've been able to develop both personally and professionally. Because I'm out here all by myself, I've had a lot of time to do self-reflection and really focus on personal growth. It's been a really great experience for that because it's really helped me develop what I want in life, not just professionally, but also where do I want to go, and focus on areas of my life that maybe needed some growth, things that maybe I should have worked on more in college or things that I've noticed in college, and I'm like, whoa, I really need to work on that. But there's so many hidden moments of joy in this journey and things and memories that you're just going to cherish forever. I really encourage anyone who's interested in helping people and serving communities to look into this because AmeriCorps is a great experience and there's so many things that you can do, so many job opportunities out there and so many sections of AmeriCorps that you can serve under. There's something for everybody. Thanks for listening, guys, and enjoy the rest of your day.